Cool. I think we're good. Good to go.
Yeah, we're straight.
Yeah, man.
Just don't want to be sitting in the shot. I don't want my shoulder in the shot.
No, you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be in the scene, right? You don't
Oh,
want
it's
to be
about you.
It's all been my shot now. All
As they said back in the day, this your world.
You're
Am I in your shot?
You're open my shot now.
I'm sorry.
Go
man.
to the right just a little bit.
You get over that way. How about that? You still got some shoulder?
Tiny bit.
You got to shrink.
You good now. You're all right, Tim. You good now.
Oh,
All right, so why we're really here?
hold on a second.
Talk about your movie,
Oh,
man.
okay.
You know, this is all about you.
You have no idea how unhappy that makes me feel. I've been talking. I am so bored with myself.
Come on.
I'm not kidding you. I've been bored with myself since Sunday night. So I'm going to do my best. It's painful. I pain myself. I'm disliking myself.
You know, the thing that's interesting,
Yeah.
we're not going to surprise you with anything 700 other people haven't already asked you.
Somebody asked me one question and I was like, oh, that's a curveball. I can't remember.
It was Kevin.
Kevin?
No, it was Kevin.
It was a Philly or Boston? Was Kevin a Philly or Boston? Or an LA?
That's the Kevin in D.C.
Oh, you guys are my first.
Okay,
Popping my cherry with you two.
But he was probably out in LA. Did you do tour? Did you do interviews in LA?
Yeah, we had 3 days of a junket in LA.
He was out there.
Was he?
Tall, thin guy.
Dude,
If he showed his
you have no
Batman-
idea. We had 3 days.
if he showed his
all
Batman
day
sneakers,
long. What's
the
that?
guy who showed his Batman sneakers to you, that's Kevin.
You
There was a
remember?
couple of.
There's more than one who showed Batman sneakers
Well, I don't know if
to
it was Batman, but that were like fanboys for Ben. Like I was like, do you want me to get up and leave so I can leave you two alone?
He was one. He's our friend, but yeah.
All right.
So who are you guys with? Who are you guys with?
We used to do a show together called Addicted to Film, but now we have
Oh, yeah.
branched off into our own separate entities again.
But we
That was a podcast, right?
But they still throw us together all the time. We can't get away from one another. So.
It's kind of cool. And we also do WETAs around town as well.
Okay.
Which they don't want us to use you on there. I don't know why.
What happened to Addicted to Film?
You want to tell?
Do you guys have a? You guys got divorced?
We did not get divorced.
I got all the possessions.
we didn't get divorced. No, we just decided that we wanted to branch off and do something different.
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah. I mean, we're still good though.
Oh yeah, that's
You guys seem cool. I'm not feeling bad vibe between you.
No.
Oh no.
He just gave you the finger when you turn around.
Well, he does. It happens a lot. Yeah. All right, so hold on a second. Let me get started this. So let's talk a little bit about the story of The Accountant. I'm sure you have scripts thrown or you're working on stuff or having conversations. Why this film?
Well, the producer, Lynette Howell, had called me up and asked me if I was interested in... All right, I'm going to give you the whole story. Do you want the whole story of what really happened?
So let's hear the whole story.
Okay, so in 2010 or 11, around there, I got sent the script. It was initially set up at Warner Brothers. I got sent the script. I really loved it. I met with Lynette Howell. She hired me. She called me 4 days later and said that the head of the studio at the time, this is an old regime, this could have been 2010, I can't remember. It was, they had sent the script to Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson was going to do it. She had no idea. She called me up and said, "You're out, unfortunately, Mel Gibson." So I was like, wow, okay, I got hired and fired in 4 days.
Wow.
So the script from there, I don't know what happened with Gibson. Well, whatever happened with
We
Gibson.
speculate.
But from there, it left Warner Brothers, and it had sort of had a circuitous route with different financiers, and it hopscotched around town. It ended up at Sony after, like by 2015, 2014, 2015. Ended up at Sony. I got a call from Lynette again saying, "Hey, remember that script?" I said, "Send me the script that I first read, not any other drafts, what Mel did. I don't want to." She sent it to me. I loved it. I found out that the option was going to be expiring at Sony, and I asked her, I said, "Why don't we just let the option expire, and let's just start without a clean slate?" And that's what we did. I sent it, so to put a list together, I had heard Ben was available. I thought he'd be great for this for a number of reasons. I sent it to Ben, he dug it, he and I met, we jived on like what the movie would be and agreed on a lot of things that were important to me about what my expectations, and he recognized what I wanted to say with the movie and what it was about. And then he called me up a couple of days later, he said, why don't we bring this to Warner Brothers, are you cool with that? And I said, yeah, I said, that's where it started. And I'd love to make, I've always wanted to make a movie at Warner Brothers. So, because I'd met those guys, and I think Sue Kroll's a genius, and Silverman's great, so we just never found the right. So we brought them a responsible budget, me, Ben, script, and they were like, go, man. And we were going. And that's how it happened.
So you said that there were a lot of things that you and Ben kind of worked out ahead of time about what you wanted to do with the movie. It's an interesting film in the fact that it's kind of like the first autistic action hero sort of movie. Because I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, I could speculate about somebody like Sherlock Holmes maybe being on the spectrum somewhere. I think a lot of people have made that kind of assumption. But this is the one that's like, overtly. So, there's some responsibility in that, I would say. Is that something you guys, one of those things that you guys kind of hammered out beforehand?
Yeah, exactly. So, amongst many things we discussed is, you can't just show up on the first day of principal photography and play somebody on the spectrum, someone with Asperger's. Like, it's going to require a massive amount of research and work, and I said, I just need to know from you that you're really committed to doing that, because it's really important to me. And he said, absolutely. And then we started this journey together. So it started with reading books, everything I read I would send to him, documentaries, podcasts, then we met with specialists, educators, and then from there, a woman named Lori Stevens, who runs the school called Exceptional Minds, which is a school for men and women on the spectrum. She gave us access to guys 18 to 30 years old who were all on the spectrum, and she opened up the doors to us, and we met all these guys. We would have like classroom kind of environment where they knew exactly what we were doing. They were really kind of psyched that there was a film that was going to be with a protagonist that was on the spectrum, because when does that happen? Especially, and a lot of these guys are fanboys. A lot of them wearing their Batman t-shirt. I love that. So like they were really psyched, and they opened up their lives to us and their stories and their hearts, and we just exchanged. It just became a dialogue, and through that, and analyzing them and watching them and absorbing their stories and observing their behaviors, we built the character. And so everything you see in his portrayal of Christian Wolf is all born out of these meetings that we had.
So you talk about, again, and I'm not going to belabor the Affleck point, but you started off as an actor.
So, no.
Oh, you never acted, okay.
Well, I mean, I have, but I mean,
But you wouldn't consider.
No.
Okay.
I took acting classes because as a director, I wanted to understand what the process of acting is. So I really started to understand different, theories of acting and concept of acting. And I learned there's no real, process of acting, but just to direct them.
Well, how much of a challenge is it working with an actor, a lead actor, who also directs? Like, are there conversations like he may see something not as just your star, but as like if I was kind of putting this together, or is it kind of respectful that he'll back off, kind of say, that you're doing this, I'm over here?
I mean, that's what it was. I mean, he made it really clear, and I needed to hear that, because this is what our first conversation was like, how this is going to work, because I think he's a really massively talented director. And he was like, I'm there as an actor. I'm like, that's, I'm a director when I direct movies, and I'm also an actor. I started out as an actor. So that was our relationship, was actor-director. And I think what Ben brings to a production, having walked in the shoes of being a director, is he just understands how hard it is. So, he definitely is there to make everyone, like, he knows his lines, he's kind to everybody, he's prepared, he's, knows everyone, like, he knows everyone's name, like, he just, because when you're the lead actor in a movie, whether you've directed or not, the lead actor sort of sets the tone for the other actors in regard to behavior. If you have a lead actor that's kind of it can be a little toxic. It can sort of infect other people if they're susceptible to it, and I've seen it. And so Ben, so there's that. Ben, and because Ben understands, and he's told me, like, as a director, he loves having actors that just make his job easier. But you don't have to worry about turning your attention on someone that's, problem. So yeah, that's the vibe he gave. But otherwise, it was just as an actor-director relationship.
One of the things I really liked about the film is that it's not one single thing. Like, I think it's part mystery, part action thriller, part drama. It's got a lot, but even kind of part superhero origin story in a way.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of things going on in it. How did you perceive it when you first read that script? How did you perceive this movie in terms of like tone and genre? What was your perception of it?
It's a good question. So my initial read, I never really thought about the complications of all the balls in the air tonally, because yes, it's a thriller, it's an action film, it's a drama, it's a character study, it's a puzzle movie, it's a little bit of some odd little eccentric love story in there.
Yeah.
So it's a cocktail of all these genres. I didn't think about it at first. I just responded to the uniqueness and originality of the script and the uniqueness and originality of the protagonist. I've never seen a character who's on the spectrum depicted in this type of movie before. We've seen, whether it's Rain Man or some other films, but like in this kind of movie, it's never been done. So I was like, I think that audiences are looking for movies that are original. I really believe that if you can execute them correctly. I think they're dying for that. And Hollywood, the studio system is risk averse. So the idea of finding, they like an IP that's from the comic books or graphic novels or whatever. So that being said, as I climbed into it, I started to go, oh my God, this is like, there's a lot going on here. The thing that was important to me was because the script had this beautiful plotting and the mystery, like sort of the sleight of hand going on, and the plot twist and the surprises. I never touched that, but one of the things I did do with Bill Dubuque, the writer, was we changed the backstory. I mean, all the flashbacks, because one of the first questions I asked Bill was, how did he get these skills? Because it wasn't, they never answered that. So I said, let's make this an origin story so we can understand how so in the present day narrative, let's see him as a child and understand what happened when how does father respond to the diagnosis of autism, being on the spectrum, and a father who loved his son so much, but he was applying his philosophy to raising a kid with the tools he had in his tool belt, which is a guy who's a military guy. Because in his mind, and back then, people didn't know a lot about autism.
Right.
So he didn't have access to, wasn't educated, and he had some guy a doctor who he thought was a little witchcrafty to him. Not that he was at all, the guy wasn't, but that's how he perceived it. And he didn't want to sort of turn his child over to that guy. So he thought he knew better. Parenting isn't for perfectionists, so that's what he did. And in his mind, it could be a really cruel world for my son. And I don't want the world to set expectations on my child. And this is how he went about protecting his child. So we sort of tracked that in the flashbacks, which informed the present day character in the narrative, in the present day narrative. So we did that. We changed the action, because I got my fight guys. I made a movie called Warrior, and all my fight guys in that movie I brought on.
You got everybody talking about a sequel now. All of a sudden, everybody's
to Warrior.
Yeah. Everybody's talking about. You haven't been hipping on the internet lately, huh?
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's saying, Gavin O Connor saying he wants to do a Warrior sequel.
You didn't actually say that. You
said
I do. You'd be open
would
to do.
Everybody's talking about it for the last 24 hours.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I don't go on the internet, so
that's
I don't do social media. But I'm happy to hear that. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. In any event, so we changed the guys who were my fight guys. They were buddies of mine, Fernando Chen and Sam Hargrave. They're really good friends of mine from Warrior, and I hired them, and we just would hang out in my house and figure out the action. So where the action was in the script, we never changed, but we changed the action. And that was born out of what kind of style would Chris fight? What's his fighting style? we came up with Pentak Silat, which is an Indonesian fighting style. And I love that because it was really cinematic, but it's also like, I kept saying to my guys, I'm like, he's a math savant. So he's going to eliminate guys as in the most mathematical way and efficient way possible. And that's what Pentak Silat has, that kind of.
Similar to you use it in the raid and it's kind of
They did use it in the raid, which I didn't know at the time. I learned, before, but in the raid, the raid is not, there's a hyper.
Oh no, yeah, no, I'm not saying this.
That was like a hyper version.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Silat,
It's just that's the style they were using.
Exactly.
They're not.
Yeah, that was like, because I remember I heard that, I was like, oh no, then I wanted to watch Raid. I'm like, oh, we're fine. That's just like, that's.
You've watched the raid already.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But it's utterly ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like a cartoon. It's fun, but it's like a cartoon. I thought.
No, I agree with you.
So there was that, and then lastly, I would just say that what was important to me in regard to answer your question was I wanted to make the movie fun. I really was like trying to inject fun into the film, and so one of the things that Ben and I, it's why I cast Anna, because I knew that we can sort of this relationship. I wanted it to be really fun and they could play off each other, and the thing I was always encouraging with Ben, and this came out of meeting all these guys, was we laughed so much with these guys. We laughed so much. They're so smart and so witty, and they were just fun and laugh. So I kept saying to Ben, I said, we have to capture that in the movie. So whenever we had opportunities to like diagnose a scene and go, all right, this, and I also would look at the whole movie and go, okay, sort of like the temperature right now, like if we can get some laughs here because of what happened here, that'd be really good for the temperature of the movie. And I was always encouraging Ben to, so a lot of the laughs in the movie are not on the script. Those are improv moments from Ben. Okay. Most of them, actually.
Huh.
Yeah.
And one of my other favorite plot points was the whole J.K. Simmons, that kind of arc. And the fact, and the movie comes out in a couple of weeks, so I'm not going to spoil it, but
yeah.
it didn't go where I thought it would go, and I was pleasantly surprised about that. So I think that layering of the story actually worked for me. So that aspect of the story, talk a little bit about that as well.
Well, there was a lot of there was just a lot of balls in the air with this film. It was by far the most challenging film I've ever made because of all the complicated storylines that are all sort of crisscrossing within the narrative and then you have to protect certain things along the way with all the reveals later. So thank you for no spoilers because there's a lot of reveals. So it was challenging, but I have this theory that you make the movie before you make the movie. So I spent a lot of time with all my production heads and my actors to kind of chart everything on the script about the tenor of the scene, the intention of the scene, the subtext of everything they're saying, illuminating what it's really about in each scene. So when I did that with JK, he and I were always on the same page about sort of the arc of the character and how much we're gonna like just sort of parcel out over the course of the movie. And speaking of JK, you guys saw him in Whiplash, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I had always liked him as an actor, but I went on the Friday night that Whiplash opened, and I walked out of the theater and I called up Lynette Howell, the producer, like, oh my fucking God, I go, you gotta see J.K. Simmons in this movie, he's unbelievable. I said, he's gotta play Ray King. Please send him the script. And we did, and I had him in the movie like a week later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. And it works out because they're working together again. And
yeah, they met on the set and they became friends, and then I guess he's Commissioner Gordon now.
Yeah. That's cool. Was he as jacked in the
during this? I saw it. He actually sent me the photo. I was like, dude, what did he send it to me?
He probably sent it to everybody. That photo.
No, he and I were texting about something. Because actually, what happened? He and I were texting about something, and my assistant's friend said he saw JK in the gym, and I'm like, yeah, I heard you working out at Gold's Gym, I think it was. Yeah. And then he sent me the photo where he's like all like he's rocked and. Yeah. No, he didn't look like. He's in good shape. Nothing. He looks like he's
It sounds like you guys had a lot of fun.
Spinach.
Yeah, clearly. He actually kind of looked like Popeye. But it sounds like you guys had a lot of fun during the filming of this. There was one scene in particular that I always find interesting, and I find it interesting in all movies that do this. It's the scene where he's in the room trying to figure out what's going on with the company and all the numbers and all that crap is written everywhere. Tell me you made Ben Affleck write all that down.
We did, but we did it. I did make him write it all down because it needed to be his handwriting.
Ah, you did?
Yeah, but we did it in the movie magic kind of way. So all the glass, because in the script it was he was writing on dry erase boards.
Yeah.
And I was like dry erase boards just sound so. It's going to be so boring and not cinematic. So I said to my production designer, I want to find like a glass conference room because I want him to be writing on the walls, like glass walls, so I can shoot it, be shooting. But also he's just going to cover the walls in his, as he's uncooking these books and diagnosing these books over the 15 years. And also because and you notice a lot of the shots, he's sort of always like, it's like he's being walled in the movie whenever he's alone. It's kind of lonely shots. So, so my production designer figured out how to do this because we were like, how the fuck is he going to be writing all this stuff? Yeah. So he had Ben, he basically got Ben to do like all the alphabet and 1 to 0 to 9 in his handwriting, but it had to be like messy fast. Yeah. Because that's how he'd be writing. And then he digitally reproduced Ben's and then what we did is we had these, it was like translucent wallpaper that looked like glass, but you can go whoosh. And so we had all that with all the numbers on it, which were the calculations that we had from a forensic accountant that helped us make sure all the calculations were accurate, because I am horrible at math, so I wasn't going to try to do that.
That's good, because I was really trying to figure out whether or not all that stuff added up.
It will add up if people went to the team. And if it doesn't add up, we're coming after the forensic accountant we hired down in Georgia. He kept telling me it did, and I'm terrible at math. So that's how we did it. So it was Ben's handwriting, but it was digitally reproduced.
Ah, that's crazy.
So my first thought when I actually left the theater is like,
where did you see it? Did you see it?
We saw it here.
Like a script? Was it with an audience or just by?
No, an audience of us, film critics.
Okay.
But my first thought when I walked out the door was like, okay, those Damon and Affleck are best friends. He's got Jason Bourne, now we've got the accountant. So is there, would there be any thought that they came to you and said, you know what, we want to continue the accountant story? Because, there are more stories that you can tell around this character.
Yeah, totally. I actually was saying to my wife before I flew out here, I said, because someone had said, oh, this is like Ben's Bourne movie, and I'm like, wouldn't it be really cool if we can figure out a way to get Warner Brothers and Universal to somehow partner up and we can make a movie with Jason Bourne and Christian Wolf in a movie together?
How would that work?
I don't know. That's where Bill Dubuque comes in.
Right.
But come on, that'd be great. And maybe they fight in the beginning, but then they have to team up. Although if they fight in the beginning, Ben is determined that he has to.
He has to win?
Oh yeah, he was asked that question. People asked him, like, if you fought Bourne, he was like...
I think Bourne would take the accountant down.
Oh no, please. Really? No.
I don't know.
No. That's silly to say. That's silly to say. Maybe Batman would give him a fight, but not Bourne. Please. That wouldn't last. That would last as long as maybe the longest fight he has in the movie, which isn't very long.
All right, man. We're getting the wrap-up signal, man. I'm having a ball. You are nut. But thank you for the time.
Oh, you're welcome, man.
The accountant is in theaters when? Like next week?
I believe it's next week.
Yeah, October 14th. Yeah, next Friday.
Next week.
All right.
Next Friday. Start the campaign for the second accountant.
Absolutely.
Start it, man.
No, I want to start the campaign for that cross.
The accountant is born.
Exactly. I think that'd be great, man. I don't know what the movie is either, but come on. Who's not going to see Jason Bourne and Christian Wolf? If we, I'm in no way saying that we're the Bourne movies, but if we do well, that would be fun too.
Greengrass determined that Bourne can't lose.
Oh. We'll have to figure it out. I don't know. All I'm saying is that's what the guy wrote. I don't know what to tell you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You made it fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We tried to, man. You did too.